Chapter 1: The Neighbor and the Cat. Title: My neighbor tried to get rid of his own cat, so I made sure he paid. I still remember the first time I met Whiskers. He wasn't mine. Not yet. He belonged to my neighbor, Tom, a guy everyone in our quiet suburban street thought was perfect. Polite, charming, always helping the elderly across the street, waving at kids. He had a spotless reputation. Until you saw how he treated his cat. Whiskers was a tiny, fluffy, gray and white ball of energy. The kind of cat that curled in your lap and purred like you were the only person in the world. But Tom, he was careless. He'd leave Whiskers outside for hours, even in freezing temperatures. He forgot to feed him sometimes, and if the cat knocked over a plant or scratched the sofa, he yelled. Not in a frustrated, understandable way, but cruelly, like he hated the cat for existing. I knew I couldn't just ignore it. I'd seen too many innocent animals suffer silently. So I started leaving food in my yard when Whiskers wandered over. He'd sneak through the fence hole and eat quietly, looking at me with big, trusting eyes, as if he already knew I was the only person who actually cared. Weeks went by, and my small acts of care turned into a routine. I started checking the weather for him, leaving blankets in the corner of the yard, bringing him in when it snowed. I called him my little shadow. Tom had no idea I was watching. Or maybe he did, and he didn't care. Then one morning, everything changed. I was watering my plants when I saw Tom dragging a large carrier across the driveway. I thought he was going to the vet, but something in his face, the way he gritted his teeth, made my stomach sink. I instinctively knew he was planning to get rid of Whiskers. I followed him, keeping a safe distance. He stopped at a small boarding facility on the edge of town, paid cash, and handed over the carrier. I pretended to be calm, but my heart was racing. That cat had no one else, and now he was about to be abandoned somewhere I couldn't reach. I waited. I called the facility later that day, explained the situation, carefully choosing my words so they'd understand without accusing me of overstepping. I had pictures of Whiskers shivering outside, screenshots of me feeding him, and notes about Tom's neglect. The staff were skeptical at first, but once I sent the evidence, they refused to release Whiskers to Tom. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I wanted him to feel the consequences without me being directly involved. Over the next few days, I documented everything. I talked to other neighbors quietly, asking if they'd noticed anything odd. Hours Whiskers was left outside, shouting, neglect. Slowly, the pieces came together. It wasn't just me. Tom had a pattern, and I had proof. Then came the big moment. I contacted local animal welfare authorities. I shared every photo, video, and note. They opened a case immediately. I was honest with them, but I also didn't hold back. I explained that I wasn't trying to ruin anyone's life. I just wanted Whiskers to be safe. The officers were polite, but firm. This wasn't a minor complaint anymore. This was clear neglect. A week later, Tom received a formal notice. He was fined, and the case threatened him with community service. The neighbors, many of whom had assumed he was perfect, were shocked. Some even confronted him politely, asking how he could treat an innocent animal so cruelly. Through it all, Whiskers was safe, fed, warm, and beginning to trust humans fully for the first time. The staff at the boarding facility kept him in the safest room, away from the chaos of other animals, until he could be adopted by a family that truly cared. I watched all of this unfold quietly. There was no yelling, no public confrontation, just justice. And it felt strangely satisfying. That night, I sat on my porch with a cup of tea, thinking about how far I'd gone. Was it petty? Maybe. Was it necessary? Absolutely. Whiskers was a victim, and Tom needed to understand that neglect has consequences. And honestly, I didn't feel guilty. Sometimes revenge isn't about rage. It's about balance, ensuring that wrongs are set right even if the world doesn't notice. Tomorrow, I plan to visit the facility, just to see him, to let him know that even if his owner didn't care, someone did. Because in a world full of neglect, small acts of kindness and a little justice can make all the difference.
Chapter 2. Justice Served, with a little help from karma. Title: My neighbor learned the hard way that you don't mess with innocent lives. After the authorities got involved, I thought the story might end there. Whiskers would be safe, Tom would get a fine, and life would go on. But I knew him. Tom thrived on control, on thinking he could get away with whatever he wanted. I wanted him to truly feel the consequences, not just on paper. Over the next few days, I kept an eye on him from my porch. He was furious, pacing back and forth, muttering to himself. I could hear snippets like, "Who would do this? Who's spreading lies about me?" Little did he know, the lies were facts. Clear, undeniable facts. I started subtly sharing what I knew with neighbors, carefully, almost as casual conversation. I'd say, "Oh, did you know Whiskers hasn't been fed properly for days?" Or, "I saw Tom leave him outside in the snow last week. Poor thing." People began whispering. Some confronted him politely at first, then more firmly. His perfect image began crumbling. Then came the real test. Tom had a community event at the HOA, a barbecue, where he was supposed to give a speech about being a model neighbor. The irony was delicious. I decided to attend. He started talking, boasting about how family and pets are my priority, and I sat quietly, smiling to myself. Everyone looked around, confused. I didn't say a word, but later people would tell me that his speech sounded hollow, rehearsed. They had already heard enough whispers to doubt him. Next, I made a careful post in a neighborhood online forum. Anonymous, of course. I detailed his neglect, provided pictures, and described the incident with Whiskers. The post went viral locally. Comments poured in, outraged, disbelief, support for Whiskers. Tom panicked. His phone wouldn't stop buzzing. People were calling him, messaging him, questioning his character. Meanwhile, I visited Whiskers at the boarding facility every couple of days. He recognized me instantly, jumping into my lap and purring. I could feel him trusting me completely. It made every stressful moment worthwhile. Finally, the authorities set a court date. Tom had to appear. I didn't expect him to show remorse, and he didn't. He argued, made excuses, even tried to claim Whiskers was too energetic for him. The judge was not impressed. He got a heavy fine, mandatory community service, and a probation period to ensure he didn't own any pets during that time. As for Whiskers, he was officially cleared for adoption. I made sure the family who adopted him was loving, attentive, and ready to give him the home he deserved. Watching him curl up in a sunny corner of their house for the first time, finally safe, finally loved, I felt a quiet satisfaction. Tom, well, he's still around. I see him occasionally across the street, staring into his yard. He's quieter now, more cautious. The whispers from neighbors follow him everywhere. People trust him less. Every time I see him, I remember, sometimes revenge isn't about confrontation. Sometimes it's about letting someone live with the consequences of their own actions and watching them slowly unravel. At the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about Whiskers. He's alive, happy, safe, and that's all that matters. I sometimes laugh to myself thinking how dramatic all of this sounds, a suburban battle over a cat. But in a world where people can be cruel to those who can't defend themselves, small acts of justice are worth every ounce of effort. And Whiskers, he's a hero too. Every time I see his little face purring, stretching in a sunbeam, I'm reminded that sometimes the most innocent beings can inspire the fiercest acts of courage. Because in the end, protecting the helpless isn't just a duty, it's a power. And the satisfaction of seeing someone who caused harm finally face the consequences, well, that's a kind of victory you can't buy.